Today we're going to be going over Dimension Duel builds for Magik and Captain Marvel, what's currently working, and things you can play around with yourself. Once we're done with this, starting tomorrow, we're going to jump into all 9 characters for Omega War, as well as Alliance War. I kind of do them both at the same time. Once that's done, we're going to transition into all 9 characters for player versus environment, or PvE. Let's get into it. Going straight into Magik, starting with her abilities, we have Summon Legionnaire, Summon Limbo Imp. These imps have always been great. They're kind of easy to kill, but they absorb attacks for you. The moment they use an AoE skill, it's probably going to kill 2 or 3 of them, but it'll still deal damage over time. Next is a new skill to this list, and that's Hunter in the Dark, Dark Conjuration. Now, with people not able to dodge as much, we tried testing the Dark Encounter again to see if we can get it to work, but until the animation gets a cut on the time that it takes to actually go, probably not going to go with it. Right now we're using Hunter in the Dark, Dark Conjuration, which goes to enemies around you. We're not actually worried about that part. Just the initial 483 damage, medium guard break, and almost instant damage. We're going to be doing a very in and out playstyle, so being able to have an instant cast, almost instant damage, and then you're able to bob and weave in and out is something you're really going to love having. Next, we're going into Stepping Sword, Stepping Strike, and this goes really well into the next skill, Arcane Sword, Demon Slayer. So what happens here is the Stepping Strike does the blink, puts you behind the target, does the AoE, but as I said, it also puts you behind the target, so when you come through with the Demon Slayer, you do 2 high guard break abilities back to back. That's difficult for your opponent to deal with it coming. There's one other option you have here. This is what I use currently, but the option that you have is Arcane Sword, Dimension Slash. The reason why this is an option is a lot of opponents in the lower to mid tiers of Dimension Duel just start off the gate with their biggest hits, and this ability, while it does its big wind-up, as you see there, the boom, and then start to do this roundabout, for the first 2 seconds, you take 50% less damage. So Iron Man comes through, Widow does a snipe, any of the big hits, you can just take it on the chin, and then come through for your 715% damage, as well as once you guard break the opponent, this also has a 3-second stun. Finishing it off, we have Master of the Abyss, Abyssal Advent. This we're always going to be using. We have 2 blink abilities on our bar. This is Dark Magic to charge the ultimate quicker, and we'll get into some interesting things about the ultimate in a second. Next, we're going to go over into Specializations, and most of them are the same with 1 or 2 nuances here. What's going to have to be there is Sword Mastery, Soul Sword Enhance, 20% extra attack for 6 seconds every 12 seconds when you use Soul Sword. We have 2 of them on our bar, so we're going to have that up pretty often. The next right here, Sword Mastery, Soul Rampage. When your opponent's under 50% HP, you do 25% more damage. As I said, we're doing a bob and weave style, so once they're under the initial 50%, we're going to really start chunking them. Next, also mandatory right here, 10% cooldown decrease. I think all characters realized after this most recent update that cooldown is just so hard to get without getting a 3, 4, or 5 roll on your boots. It's just so difficult, and you really, really need it. There's obviously a reason why it's even an option here, right? And our last one is everyone's favorite, convert HP into attack. Base attack stat is good. It's not as good as crit damage. It's not as good as defense pierce. It's not as good as crit rate. But it's still a number that you want. You want to fluff it, but if this was, obviously defense pierce or whatever, that would be much better. But all of your attack skills or whatnot are multiplied off of your base attack. So if this gives you flat attack, then up here, the Soul Sword Enhance is 20%. So you get like plus 1,000 or whatever it ends up being, right? Then you add 20% of 1,000 on top of that, and then it just keeps going up and up. The only other one that you can look at is down here. When you use Legion of Demons, you get 25% shield. That will be your Imp summon with 20-second cooldown, with your 50 with some cooldown, even with just limbo control. Every time you go to click Imp, this will give you a 25% shield, but it doesn't really fit with the current Bob and Weave playstyle you're going to have to do in Dimension Duel. Now, next let's get into Omega cards. So for Omega cards, as I said before, in most of these other ones, we're going to ignore the special cards. Obviously they're awesome, get them if you can. But Magic falls into a similar camp as when we went over Captain America, and that's Captain America has defense into attack, whereas Magic has HP into attack. Both of them kind of go into the same kind of thing right here, where the full set 6 is good for her. One gives you HP, one gives you it gives you all three of the main stats, HP, attack, and defense, as well as some crit damage. And by hitting all four, you get crit rate, crit damage. This is one of the better sets for her and Captain America, like we talked about before. You can obviously, this will always come up, is Red Skull for crit damage and Supervillain Team Up for set 2. Even if these are the only ones you have, this 2-piece set 2 and 4-piece set 6 is a really, really good start on getting yourself going. If we take a look right here, we have PvP increase, PvP decrease, defense pierce, total damage, and supervillain damage. Ideally, you want to, once we're able to roll cards, what you're really looking for is you want to max out PvP decrease, then max out defense pierce, then max out PvP increase is what you're looking for in Dimension Duel. Next, we're going to look at our costumes. So for your special costumes, regional costumes, we're going to be looking at either Xanderth for defense pierce and soul sword, or where is it at? Hydra for crit rate and soul sword. Hydra being the more sought after one because crit rate's a little bit harder to find than defense pierce, especially as you saw from our Omega cards. We can roll once we're able to roll on Magic. You're able to roll defense pierce on your exclusives on your cards, whereas crit rate's a little bit harder to come by. So picking this up when you can is great. As for the regular costumes, I wanted to get the one for Stepping Sword, but she actually doesn't have a costume that boosts Stepping Sword. What I did find was the next best one, which is Fall of Mutants, increasing Hunter in the Dark. This increases the really quick burst skill that we have, allowing you to get your pop in, pop out style going, and this will also help you out in your AoE game modes such as PvE and Omega War. Something to keep in mind, when we talked about specializations, a buddy of mine, Carnage, shout out buddy, brought up that this was acting very weird with her ultimate. And what I mean by that is when you're in your ultimate, this counts. Meaning when you use her number 2 ability of the 1, 2, 3 in her ultimate, this actually increases your ultimate, makes you stay in ultimate longer, which is actually not what you want. You want the opposite of that. So this can help you get to your ultimate faster as an option, but once you're in your ultimate, it makes you stay in the ultimate longer, which is what you don't want, so it's a balance act. Next, let's get into Captain Marvel. Energy Impact, Cosmic Recharge. This is what we've always been using. You jump in, you get some ultimate gauge back, but now it has untargetable when you're moving. So during the jump, you are untargetable, similar to Spider-Man's swing. While you're in the air, can't be targeted. Next, we go straight into most of these skills we're already using. You'll see the gimmick once we get into the specializations. Photon Buster, Focal Energy Shot. Like I said, this is a skill you're already using. Big damage, point and click, done. This still can be canceled. The required time to do the cancel is a lot quicker. So when you do the focal energy shot, the lasers come behind you, you can active dodge and then make the lasers turn invisible and faster. It used to be like you had like a half second to press the button. Now it's like 10% to a quarter of a second to that. These are guesstimates of the kind of reaction time you need to make this happen. So I guess it's more skill based than whatever, because you have to be able to actually do that quick enough to make it happen. Last is Photon Blast, Photon Focus, your beam. You're going to be saving this, and it's going to be your wild card. If you win fights, it's probably because of this or your ultimate. Let's get into the specializations. So if we take a look, your most important ones are going to be right here. One that you probably weren't using before. When critically damaged, that means when you would die, you become invincible for 2 seconds and restore 35% of max HP with a 10-minute cooldown. This interestingly works with increased duration of self-granted buffs for 35%. It gives you roughly 3 seconds, and that will be important when we get into what we're trying to do here. Next we have up here, increase attack by 20%. When battle lasts at least 6 seconds, it's going to do that. And then the last one, which we were already using before, increase ultimate gauge recovery by 50% when HP is 50% or higher. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to do the whole bob and weave playstyle that you're used to, but you're saving the beam, your 5th skill. You're not using the 5th skill. What happens here is when you lose the battle, when your opponent kills you, you have 3 seconds, and your beam lasts 3 seconds for the full charge. Normally, you're not able to get a full beam off because they can stun you, blind you, what have you, but you are invulnerable, invincible, what's the wording here? Invincible for almost the full 3 seconds. Your beam will kill the opponent. 100% with the 20% attack bonus, you're going to kill your opponent. And if it doesn't, if you played well enough during the time that you had energy conversion going, you should be able to get an ultimate off to try to seal the deal with the focal energy shot dodge cancel. Like I said, this is gimmicky, You have the option of playing the old build that you'll see on my channel below. You can play the same thing, but be more discerning about when you use your active dodges. But that is working for some people that have been playing it for months and months and months. It's still tough battles. But this one right here is stealing wins that you definitely shouldn't be getting. Let's jump into our Omega cards and costumes. So for our Omega cards, probably some of your most important ones right here are going to be the Captain America 2004 for the crit rate, the Maestro card, Future Imperfect for ultimate gauge recovery. This is to help you get that ultimate as quickly as possible. You really want Defense Pierce, crit rate, crit damage. So 2-piece set 6 works out great with Loki and God of Thunder 2012. I say this every time, but you also have the Red Skull 2010 and Supervillain Team Up. Like I said, it's pretty gimmicky, and it's probably not going to work for too long. Hopefully, it'll last us until the next patch, and then hopefully she gets buffed a bit. But I know a bunch of you wanted something that you're a diehard Captain Marvel, you want to keep playing her, so scraped around and found something that is working right now. Now let's look into the costumes. So going on into our regionals, we got Midgardia for crit rate and cosmic energy. This is going to be your best of the two options. The other one is Dark Domain, which is down here, which is the same thing but Defense Pierce instead. As I said with the last character, you want crit rate more than Defense Pierce with this, because Defense Pierce you can find on your Omega cards. Crit rate's harder to come by. You do want both, but whichever way the dice rolls is kind of what you're looking for. Both you can get from cores. If we're talking about non-regional, Carol Core is where you want to be at with the Photon Blast. That's the beam. A 21 beam is almost 4,000% damage with your 20% attack bonus on top. If you like this playstyle and you want to focus more into it, one other option you have right here is a skill that still kind of messing with here, and that's Photon Charge Blast Cone. So what happens here is it does kind of minimal damage, but it makes the target take 33% more damage afterwards. So after your revive, you immediately blast cone into beam. So you have your 4,000% damage with your 20% attack bonus with this 33% increased damage on the target. So if it's a Captain America or whatever that you have a hard time killing, or someone's just super tanky against you specifically, this can help you break those matchups. Going on to the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video